All right, so we talked about the gentleman in the beginning, right? The four-wheeler accident. This guy is actually my brother. His name is Dustin. He's my stepbrother. We've known each other since first grade. Uh, he was in a really severe ATV accident when we were kids. Uh, Him and I, we were both on our own four-wheeler, and we were tearing around our country farm like we've done over and over and over again. And we were we were driving up this path of evergreen trees, right? So we had trees on both sides of us. It's a narrow trail, and I'm in front of him, and it leads out to our driveway. So when I exited this row of trees, I saw that one of our neighbors had brought a car trailer over. He was helping my stepdad with something. So I swerved to miss it, and I barely missed it. But I kicked up all this dirt and dust and stuff in order for me to miss it. Which unfortunately my brother drove right into that dust cloud, not knowing that that trailer was there, and drove his four-wheeler straight into the back corner of the trailer, and the corner of it actually went through his left leg and pinned him to that four-wheeler, into the plastic fender. Dustin, being in shock, he looked down at his leg, saw he was trapped, and pulled his leg off. His leg was being held together by a single vein, right? So there's some definite arterial bleeding and stuff going on there. He needed 14 surgeries and 1 skin graft. He stayed at Children's Hospital for a month in Minneapolis, was in a wheelchair and did rehab for about a year. He does still have his leg today, which is pretty crazy when you think about the fact that it was completely taken off of him. So I want to circle back into our anatomy conversation a little bit, because in the beginning, right, if you don't have a lot of medical background, you would think, okay, well, obviously I got to control the bleeding. I know that from first aid and stuff like that. But the better that we understand anatomy and physiology, the better we can really understand what's happening with this kid, right? So let's think about this a little bit. I don't care if you become an EMT. I mean, I hope you do, but if you don't, number one, you're going to get enough knowledge from this course to at least equip you to do the right thing in the right moment. And that's so necessary, whether it's CPR training, first aid training, especially in rural areas. It takes someone with the right knowledge to do the right thing to really make a difference in the outcomes of these patients. Okay? That's number one. Number two, if you are going to be an EMT, it's got to be on your shoulders to be a great one. And you're going to hear me especially say this over and over throughout your program. We can make good EMTs. I've made tons of good EMTs. It's up to you to become a great one. And you're going to hear me use examples throughout this entire program, but you know, good EMTs understand, I see major bleeding, I need to stop major bleeding. Great EMTs look at major bleeding and think, okay, he's losing oxygen, his aerobic metabolism could be compromised, he's losing heat because the skin is open, he's prone to infection. They have all of these things floating in their head instantly because they've studied so hard and they understand the material so well that all of these little lights are flickering when they just look at a situation. That's on you. That's on you as an individual and you as a provider. And if you don't have the hunger to reach that level, then you really have to evaluate what you're doing here. Because at the end of the day, and I say this to my staff all the time, it's hardly ever us who pays for our incompetence. It is hardly ever us. It is us who has to live with that. And that can be hard by itself. But the people who pay for our shortcomings are the people that we take care of. And you're going to run hundreds and thousands of calls throughout your career, at least I hope you do. And I don't ever want your patient to just become a person to you. Okay? My whole life could have changed had that bystander not done what they did, had that rural EMS team not known how to handle this. Okay, it was a 15-minute drive to the closest hospital, and it was a low-level hospital. Had these people not been trained the right way and not known what was necessary in that moment, my whole life could have been flipped upside down. And because we had good people with good training who did the right thing at the right time, I got a good ending.